Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Lucas Frankel, Mike Lucas here with you on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon in October where the New York Football Giants lose again. Mike, this has got to be one of the most frustrating Giants seasons of your lifetime. They've played 3 primetime games at this point, embarrassed themselves in every single one. I hope they are not on primetime again. The last one was probably the most inexcusable where they had goal to go at the end of the first half. They run a running play. Tyrod Taylor checks out of a pass, and the clock runs out. They don't get a field goal off. And then at the end of the game, 1st and goal at the 1. All they need is 1 yard to win the game, and they don't get it. Just absolutely devastating. The first loss in the state of New York in 30 years. What is the state of this Giants team right now? Is it Caleb Williams or bust, or is it fire everybody? What are Giants fans thinking right now?
I mean, do you want like the rational take, or do you want like what are crazy irrational fans thinking?
If I was a Giants fan, what would I be thinking?
Well, I think despite the fact that you like to yell, you are pretty rational. Here's the reality. Last year was a fluke. We knew it was a fluke. They got lucky in so many games. Daniel Jones, I think, threw 13 touchdown passes. They won games because they got lucky in a couple instances, caught teams at the right time. And at the end of the day, despite winning a playoff game, like, I never thought the Giants were that good. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs this year. I thought they took a step back. Like, I expected Darren Waller to be better. But Daniel Jones, behind that offensive line with no weapons, was a disaster to fail. And as soon as Andrew Thomas got hurt in week 2, and you were starting a guy who I'd never heard of at left tackle, it's like been a revolving door. It's disappointing that certain players haven't stepped up the way you would like. Evan Neal was a top 10 pick last year. He at right tackle has allowed, I think, the 3rd most pressures in the NFL according to PFF. Like, he hasn't taken that next step forward you would have liked to seen. But it sucks because they've been so bad in games that are visible to everybody. Like, they haven't been able to hide the fact they've been terrible. So they've just been a punchline. They almost beat Buffalo with Tyrod Taylor. The end of the first half clock management situation was disgusting, to say the least. Like, literally disgusting. But I didn't expect him to be that good this year, so it doesn't hurt me that bad. The reality is Daniel Jones is not the franchise quarterback that you need if you're going to be a competitive football team. So it's a 2-year deal. They have this year and next year. Then they get rid of him. So they're going to draft a quarterback really early. But
who are you targeting? Do you want Drake May? Do you want, obviously, Caleb Williams is probably going to be a long shot because the Panthers may not win a single game this year.
Yeah.
Is it
I like
Shador?
Drake May a lot. Yeah. I would take – I don't like Penix. I would be scared to take Penix that high. I think he's super talented, but he is injury prone. So he scares me. But they need a quarterback. Like, they need a quarterback, and I would roll the dice on Drake May, or hell, even Shador Sanders. I like him more than I like Penix. So
yeah, I'm not sure if Shador's coming out. Colorado football, what an embarrassment! I went to bed, it was 29-0, and I woke up and just saw a flood of tweets about how they blew that. I don't even know how they blew. I don't even know how that's possible to blow a 29-0 lead against a team that is terrible. I get it if you're doing it against a team that's good, but Stanford stinks, and they blew it. I mean, my God, what a disappointment for Dion. I don't know if they're gonna. It feels like I think they'll be better next year, and I hope they still can find a way to make a bowl game. But in terms of all the Dion hype, that was just a complete punch in the gut to everything that they've been doing. Yeah, but their offense is legit. They just can't stop a nosebleed.
Frank, listen, this is exactly we could run back the conversation we had. Like, they have playmakers. They have no depth and no one on defense. And that'll come. Dion will be fine. But we'll get to Colorado later, Frank. This is the Giants right now. And the reality with the Giants is people talk themselves into Daniel Jones being a franchise quarterback. I have no issue with the contract because it was a 2-year franchise tag. They're going to pay him next year, whatever. You're going to draft a rookie quarterback. So you add their 2 salaries together, they'll be fine. But they just don't have talent on this roster. Like, they have no playmakers. Nobody. Saquon Barkley is good when he's healthy. He's very rarely healthy. At receiver, Frank, you and I are essentially their top 2 targets on the outside. Darren Waller's been a disappointment. He hasn't anyone to throw him the ball, granted, but he's been a disappointment. And when they do have guys open, the quarterback doesn't have time to throw. So this is a team that is devoid of talent. And unfortunately, them being competitive last year messed up their whole timeline. It was actually bad for the Giants to be good last season because it gave them the false sense of hope that maybe they can keep patchworking this together because Dayball is that smart of a coach. The reality is Daboll's a good coach. I still have the utmost faith in him, but I have zero faith that this roster, regardless of who was calling the shots, could be competitive. That's the reality as a Giants fan right now. And it sucks because the season's over 6 weeks into the year.
I mean, I feel like, and for a credit to Daboll, it feels like Josh Allen hasn't been the same since him and Daboll split. He's had moments like that game against the Dolphins, but that's been pretty much it. Like Josh Allen stunk in a lot of games this year. He stunk in the Jets game. He stunk against the Giants. He wasn't great in London against the Jaguars. Like Josh Allen's very inconsistent. I think Daboll got the most out of him. So I do think Daboll's a good coach, but I've never seen an angrier. Daboll every week throws the biggest tirades on the sideline, throwing his headset, screaming at players. I don't know if this is just an extra level of frustration or what's going on with Daboll, but
he didn't do it last year. So I think it's the culmination of literally. It's like the Vikings, Frank. They were 11-0 in one-score games last year.
The same team. Giants and Vikings, same boat.
Yeah,
the only difference with the Vikings is we already knew that they were on a sinking ship with Kirk Cousins. As soon as they signed him to a deal, that was on a bridge to nowhere. Daniel Jones, first of all, he threw 15 touchdowns last year. Don't discredit what he did. All right. 15
I was instead of 0.7 per game, it was 0.8 per game. I apologize, Daniel.
Yeah, you should. 15 touchdowns is way more than 12. So credit where credit is due there. But there was, I guess, maybe among Giants fans and maybe among the NFL, there was a sense of hope that Daniel Jones could be this dynamic dual threat quarterback that could lead you places. Maybe not to you, but
no. I'm saying it's proven it's not true. Like you're right. There were people who believed it. What do you say?
This year he proved it, or in the past he proved it?
No. This year it has been proven that you are right when saying that people thought he could be, and I'm saying now we have definitive proof that he's a guy that, in the perfect of circumstances, maybe could be competent. But if it's not perfect around him, he is not a guy who can elevate other players around him to be good offensive.
And to be fair, it's pretty hard. You throw any quarterback with this roster, and a banged up Saquon who's not there, throwing those weapons, like, show me the recipe where they're successful. Even look at Patrick Mahomes. Like Kelsey, but beyond that, they got nothing. Their offense each week, it's like insane. Their defense, I saw a stat. They're the only defense in the NFL that's allowed 21 or fewer points each week. Their defense is destroying it. If the Chiefs' defense wasn't as good as they've been, like, who knows how many losses the Chiefs would have by now? Because Mahomes'
offense hasn't been good.
I mean, Pacheco's been good, and Kelsey is getting catching receptions, but in terms of scoring touchdowns and putting points on the board, that Chiefs' offense has been. I mean, I kind of view those they're very similar in terms of the Giants and the Chiefs, sort of how they're built, except if you put the Mahomes on the Giants, like, it's kind of like the same team in a way. I just thought about that during this. And Mahomes is doing compared to what Daniel Jones is doing. And
the Chiefs' offensive line is significantly better than the Giants' offensive line, though.
Yeah, but in terms of like the name brand and the skill level of the playmakers, I think they're pretty similar in that regard.
Agreed. I mean, take real quick. Let's do a draft. I'll go, then you go. If you're drafting skill position guys between the Giants and the Chiefs, like right now, Kelsey's the first pick.
Yeah, Kelsey's 1, Saquon's 2.
And then you could take a freaking.
And I'll take Pacheco 3.
Darren Waller 4.
I mean, Darren Waller 4. I mean, none of the Chiefs.
There's nobody. The point is, there's nobody. Like, the point is, you're slim pickings, and the difference of the Chiefs being 5-1, the Giants being 1-5 is Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback that's ever walked the face of the earth. Daniel Jones is a career backup. There you go.
I don't know, a career backup might be a little excessive. I think maybe slightly below average quarterback might be the best way to frame Daniel Jones. He's good enough to take a team to the playoffs. He's good enough to have moments. Good enough to
a career bridge guy.
Sure,
he'll never be the guy, but he can hold you over for a year before you draft your quarterback.
All right, moving on to the other team in New Jersey, the Jets.
How about them Jets, bro? How about
them? I can't believe that there is all this going around about Aaron Rodgers returning in Week 12. The guy tore his Achilles. What kind of procedure or what kind of rehab or what kind of drugs is this guy taking where he can come back in 3 months from a torn Achilles to play elite professional football? I agree. I still don't believe it. I refuse to believe that he's coming back this year. I just don't understand what type of experimental stem cell, whatever he's doing, is he doing that no other athlete in the history of sports or competition seemingly has ever even, possibly even contemplated doing. Like, there's got to be some sort of. I know that he had the experimental procedure with the Dr. Neil Ella Trotch or whatever to make the rehab go faster. But Why is no other athlete doing this? Why is no other athlete taking this approach with Aaron Rodgers, assuming it's safe and it's a normal rehab? It boggles my mind, and it's just like it gives me like a false sense of hope that I feel like I've had with every team I've ever rooted for, where this just like anytime Kevin Durant got hurt, it was like, oh, he's coming back soon, and then it just comes crashing back down in your face. I refuse to believe that there's going to be a happy ending for the Jets this year with Aaron Rodgers. I can't allow myself to get there.
Yeah, well, the Rodgers thing is interesting because either he is going to defy every law of physics and science we've ever become accustomed to knowing, or he's a giant snake oil salesman. Like there's not really an in-between here. You know what I mean? Either he somehow comes back and plays by listening to dolphins make love and ayahuasca, and like either that works and it changes how we look at all modern medicine, or he's just lying flat out to us. And here's the thing. If he is lying to us, I have no problem with it. You know why? Because at least if I'm a Jets player, there's a hope that, hey, like if this defense is as good as we think it is, we can keep this team afloat till Aaron comes back in week 12. If you know the season's dead because Zach Wilson's your quarterback, no matter what you think about Zach Wilson, like the AFC's loaded. It's going to be tough to make the playoffs, even with Aaron Rodgers. With Zach Wilson, I think the chances are just, your margin of error is so thin that even if there is that glimmer of hope in, Quinnen Williams' eyes and Sauce Gardner's eyes that just keep doing my job 3 more weeks, then the offense can score 25 points and we don't have to be perfect. That lie, I'm okay with telling.
You think there's a possibility Rodgers is just messing with everyone to give the Jets a false sense of hope that if they could just stay afloat, Rodgers will come back? See, I don't think that's true because Rodgers is already walking essentially without a limp, throwing on the field pregame, which is in the history of I've read in the history of Achilles injuries, this is completely unprecedented in terms of how quickly he's doing stuff. So if he was still in a wheelchair, unable to put weight on his leg, I would believe you. But I truly believe. Granted, I have no medical.
Do you think he plays this year? Let me ask you, yes or no? Does Aaron Rodgers play football this season?
I think he does. I mean, you believe? I mean, because I've seen articles from doctors who were saying that based on the trajectory that he's on, it's looking more and more practical. He's targeting week 12, Mike. This is. I know it's absurd nonsense. They're saying
you're believing the information you're being given. I totally get why someone would, but I just have a hard time believing that Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old, that his body would somehow be in a position to play that quickly when we've seen other athletes.
First of all, he's 39. Stop short setting and exaggerating how many players, the touchdowns they threw in a year, the ages of players. When you mess with the accurate information, it creates this deceptive picture.
What did I say? He's 40. He's 39. My bad. Yeah. That a 39-year-old Aaron. We're not talking about 20-year-old LeBron James here. We're talking about 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers. If he does, once again, it's going to change the way that every NFL player, the way every NFL fan looks at injuries. If Rodgers can come back at 39 from a torn Achilles in 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, whenever he comes back, why am I going to wait a year for a torn ACL from Nick Chubb? Why can't Nick Chubb be back in 10 months? Well, you know what I'm saying?
If it was an Achilles,
I just have a hard time believing that Aaron Rodgers, of all people, has unlocked some secret to society that the rest of the medical profession has not figured out.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So that's why I don't believe him. I don't think that.
But Mike, here's the proof. There's visual proof, though. In the history,
but walking and playing are two totally different things, Frank.
But in terms of a normal timeline for an Achilles injury, he is months ahead of where every other athlete has ever been. So that's you're saying I need to see to believe. There's proof out there. It's not it's not like we hadn't seen it. If there was just a reporter reporting, oh, Rodgers is walking and he's throwing. Would I believe it? Probably not. But there's visual proof. He was on the field Sunday Night Football, throwing passes, walking around. Granted, he wasn't running sprints and
I'm just saying, I think there's a big difference. And once again, I am no medical professional. I have a hard time differentiating a player who is able to walk sooner than get back and play in an NFL game. I think the gap from injured to walking whatever is this big, from walking to what it takes to play in a football game is gigantic. So maybe he's ahead of schedule on the first 25-30% of recovery. And once again, I'm speculating. But I think there's a far way to go. And I hope though he's back though, Frank, because that makes the week 17 Browns Jets game a million times more interesting. So I'm hoping he comes back. I just don't think that he is the Jesus of modern medicine. I don't.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, he went to Dr. Neil Elatrach, who does every single procedure on every single athlete, actually famous athlete, and basically in sports. Ohtani, basically every other guy you could think of. Basically goes to Dr. Neil Elatrach now that Dr. James Andrews, I think, is retired. So it's not like he's going to, Dr. Whoever in Japan or, Germany or wherever to do some, illegal medicine thing that, we've seen guys do in the past. I remember like Bartolo Colon went to like the Dominican Republic to get some, crazy procedure done on his elbow or shoulder to revitalize everything after it basically got torn apart. He's doing it seemingly ethically in America. So at least as far as we know, who knows? As far as the Jets beating the Eagles, I mean, in terms of being shocked by the result of the game, I mean, the Jets have done this in the past though, where they win games where they absolutely have no business, usually in years where they end up not being very good. I thought that when Sauce Gardner and DJ Reader ruled out, and the line went down from 7 to 6.5, I was like, what is going on here? I wanted to I didn't bet on it, but I was gonna just hammer the Eagles because I didn't see any scenario where, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and that whole Eagles passing attack was just I felt like they were just gonna light up the Jets. I know the Jets got Quinnen Williams and, their pass rush has been really good, but what the Jets have been doing defensively, even without, those guys who are out, every team has basically made Mahomes look mortal this year, but Josh Allen and they played another elite quarterback, but it seemed like every guy they played this year, they've really contained, especially in the second half. The Jets team in the second half has been lights out. I am absolutely shocked the Jets found a way to win that game. Jalen Hurts obviously blew it with that pick late in the fourth quarter where they allowed the Jets to just run down the sideline, basically threw it right to the guy, and the Jets ended up scoring with Breece Hall. First time ever the Jets beat the Eagles. Absolutely shocking. The Jets are 3-3. Even with Rodgers healthy, if you told me they were going to get out of that gauntlet stretch of the Bills, the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Eagles 3-3, I would have been like, hell yes. Because after this, they got the Giants, which should be a win. The Chargers, who we'll get to, seem to blow a game every single week. They should win. The Raiders is a winnable game. At the Bills, it's probably not going to be a win. The Dolphins, those are two tough games. But then
the hardest part of their schedule is in the past now.
Yeah, I mean they got green light ahead of them, and if Rodgers can come back here, they can make it. They can definitely make this something interesting for sure. And Zach Wilson, say how much you want to credit him or not, or discredit him. He's beaten a lot of good teams and good players in this league.
Yes.
He's beaten Josh Allen.
Zach Wilson is not. I don't want to say he's not good. He's probably not good, but he's not nearly as bad as people made it out to be. Is that a fair assessment? He's not as bad as what we saw after the Chiefs game where Rodney Harrison's trying to get Chris Jones to call him guard. He was never that bad.
I mean, he's okay. I guess he's decent. And as long as he's not, throwing 3 or 4 interceptions and costing the team the game, and the Jets defense and Breece Hall is the key, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Breece Hall, like I said last year, if he doesn't get hurt, the Jets easily make the playoffs. He is that much of a difference maker, I believe, in the Jets' overall offensive scheme that, you don't need, Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow to win games if you have Zach Wilson, a quarterback. They have enough offensively with him just not losing the game where they can overcome his struggles or whatever goes on with him each game to eke out wins. That's how it's working.
I think this weekend, Frank, showed us that the NFL, no matter how well you think you know it, no matter how much you watch, it's such a week-to-week league. The Jets had no business beating the Eagles. The Browns had no business beating the Niners. The Giants had no business being in the game with the Bills. And as much as we don't want to admit it, NFL teams are susceptible to trap games, just like college teams are, just like every other sport is. And even though there's only 17 games now, and you would think that these players understand the importance of each and every one, trap games happen way more than we'd like to believe. And even after the Browns game, Myles Garrett told Jason Lloyd of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, he was like, yeah, that was a trap game for them. Like they didn't take us seriously. It was pretty evident from the get-go. They weren't taking it seriously. And it's one of those things that no matter how favorable a matchup may seem, like there is nothing guaranteed in football. And if you have a good defense, especially a good defense, you should be in every game. Your offense doesn't have to be perfect. You just can't make crucial mistakes. And if your defense is as good as you think it should be, the Browns, the Jets are in that category. There's a few other defenses this season who have been really impressive. You should be competitive. And that's what makes the Giants and some of these other teams that have been so bad that much more disappointing, because offenses around the league are down. Like all the offensive numbers are down this year around the league. And the fact that some teams still can't stop a nosebleed is just embarrassing.
So I assume you listen to the latest Bill Simmons podcast, not the one with the NBA over-unders from Tuesday, but the one where he from the Sunday recap where he said,
I have not yet.
Well, he said that this might have been one of the Browns, possibly the Browns, one of their biggest wins since moving back to Cleveland.
Oh, we did that on the show today. We had that discussion on the show today.
So, listen, I understand it was an upset. No one thought it would happen. But to call a game in week 6 that the Browns are probably not even going to make the playoffs, to call that one of the biggest wins. Listen, I know the Browns haven't had a lot of big wins, but they've made the playoffs. They've won playoff games.
Only because we did this literally on the show today. We took playoff games out of the equation. They've won one playoff game, by the way. They have not won playoff games.
Okay,
if you're going to talk about being accurate, they have won a playoff game. We took that game out of the equation, and we asked, was this the Browns' biggest regular season win since 99 when they moved back? And Tyvis said yes. G and J said no. G said the Browns, Baker Mayfield beating the Jets on Thursday Night Football was the biggest win in franchise history since moving back to Cleveland. And Jay,
what are we basing this on? Like, it's got to lead to something. It can't just be a regular season game that has no like implications or has no lasting effects. Like, Baker's no longer on the team. I don't even believe they made the playoffs that year. Like, what are we talking about?
They've made the playoffs twice, Frank. And this is a franchise that has nothing. That's why it's considered or could be considered the big, because they have nothing. They have nothing.
I mean, I don't remember watching the 2000 Browns. I believe they made the playoffs in 2000 and lost, or whatever it was, 02, whatever. They lost to the Steelers, maybe in 04, whatever it was, in a playoff game that they had a lead in and lost. Like, there had to have been a win that season that was like big. The Baker Mayfield making the playoff season, there had to be like 2 or 3 wins that season that were considered huge. Yeah, they're just the Derek Anderson.
I wasn't here. I'm just telling you what the Cleveland people, like the people of Cleveland, said. All 3 had it in the top 3 at minimum, and Tyvis said it was the biggest. As someone who has watched all,
how do we define big though? What are we defining big as?
Well, it was their
like biggest... shocking. If you want to put it most shocking results, sure, yeah, I buy that. Yeah. But if you're saying like biggest, like,
I think biggest, most improbable. I think
improbable. Sure, that's a better word. But biggest,
that might be the better word. Yeah, okay.
Because when I hear biggest, I think of like overall significance to like the trajectory of a franchise. Yes. And PJ Walker filling in for one game and beating a team that, they lost McCaffrey and Debo, but still a team that many viewed as the best team in the NFL. Yeah, that's an improbable win. They should make a 30 for 30 about it, and whatnot. But biggest win, give me a break. That's a joke.
For a franchise that has nothing, it is a big win. So
anyway, I guess we'll hit on Belichick real quick.
They suck.
I feel like the Patriots are gonna end up with Caleb Williams, and this is gonna be like a Wembanyama Popovich thing where it looks like Belichick's about to retire, and then the Patriots stumble their way back into first pick, get Caleb Williams, and now Belichick will be coaching for the next 15 years. Like, I hate this, and like it's the perfect year for the Patriots to suck, because this is despite how bad Caleb Williams looked against Notre Dame and whatever critics are going to be out there of him. I'm pretty sure I said I said somewhere, maybe not to you, but that Notre Dame was going to win that game because USC had just been trending in the wrong direction. given how bad their defense has looked, and going to triple overtime against Arizona told me all I needed to know about USC. Once that happened, I was like, yeah, this team just has no chance to win the national title. But either way, Caleb Williams is the real deal, and I just know that it's just the Patriots' luck under Belichick to stumble on a guy like Caleb Williams. It's like Popovich, Wembanyama all over again, and it makes me sick.
Well, luckily for you, Frank, it is not luck in the lottery. They have to be worse than Carolina, and I just have a hard time fathoming any situation where New England is worse than Carolina this year. I can't see a scenario where that is the end result. Bill Belichick, for as good as he's been in his career, and as bad as the Patriots are talent-wise, and for as many reasons as they should tank, I don't think Belichick has it in him to intentionally just throw a season. I don't. So I can't foresee them being worse than Carolina.
I mean, you could argue putting. I mean, I don't think Belichick is intentionally going out there to. I mean, I don't think any team really in the NFL, especially in the NFL, is going out there.
No, you can't really tank, but like Belichick's too good to not give 150% in his game planning defensively to try and stop it. Because he is, I think we talked about this. He's in third all time in most wins now, and I think
he might be second
or third, whatever it is. He's behind
Shula,
yeah. So for him to punt on a season and not inch closer and closer to that record, which I feel like
I don't think Belichick's intentionally trying to lose. I just think that maybe he recognizes, like, all right, Mac Jones, we're not going anywhere. We already lost Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez for the season. Like, our running back situation is a debacle. We have no receivers. Like, and you look at their schedule. Bills, Dolphins lost. Commanders at home might be a win. Colts in London is going to be a tough game, even though Minshew at the Giants could be a win. Now we're up to 3 wins. Chargers lost, at Pittsburgh lost, home for the Chiefs lost, at Denver could be a win.
2 tanking teams.
At the Bills, home for the Jets in week 18. So, like, I'd say max 3 or 4 wins for the Patriots. And that's assuming everything goes well and they don't continue absolutely sucking. So, like, I don't know, they'll be in that top 2 or 3 mix. And if the Panthers and Bryce Young somehow, find a groove here and they win a couple games, like this could get interesting. And believe me, it's the last thing I want to see is Caleb Williams ending up Patriots, because that would make me absolutely just nauseating. It'd be nauseating to me. But I saw a highlight rip of Victor Wembanyama, and Mike, this guy is going to be absolutely insane. He is going to. Let me double check the rookie of the year odds in the NBA. Like, if he doesn't get hurt, there's no scenario where he doesn't win rookie of the year. He is just the stuff he's doing now. He replicated the Space Jam dunk that Jordan did in that movie where he reached out his arm. It was insane. The guy is a freak of nature, and I'm just blown away from what I've seen.
He does things that don't make sense physically, logically. There's no explanation. He's an alien. And my favorite clip was when he dunked on Thomas Bryant from outside the restricted area, and Bryant deadpan looks at the camera like it's a scene from The Office. Thomas Bryant is 6'11". Thomas Bryant has won national championships in high school. He played at Indiana, played in the NCAA tournament. He's played in the NBA for multiple seasons. And after being dunked on from 6 feet out away from the basket, turned around at the camera and was just like, excuse me? And to see a guy who is a giant human being be made to feel like you and I on a regular basis, Frank, I don't know how to describe it. He moves, he's fluid. He's going to get embarrassed a few times this year. Like, dudes are going to dunk on him. It's going to happen. But in all 3 preseason games so far, he's made multiple plays in each game. Not just one, multiple. That you have to think and say, have I ever seen that happen before? Have I ever seen a player of that size do what Victor Wembanyama just did? And the answer has been no. On at least 7 occurrences through 3 games. It is absurd, Frank. And he's going to continue. He's going to be the most viewed player in the history of the world. Because
Mike.
His clip, he's going to have more clip. Once again, there wasn't around with them.
Wait, what are you talking about? Like Michael Jordan, LeBron. You think he's like? First of all, we don't even know if he's going to stay healthy. So like,
let me finish what I'm saying. His clips, because he does stuff.
Clips.
Yeah. Like he view wise, like literally views. Like, how many views we getting in this podcast? Like, views. His clips are going to go.
Wait. You think he's gonna outview our podcast?
I think Victor Wembanyama. Yes, I would bet a lot of money to win nothing that he would outview this podcast. But he does things that no one has ever seen before, and even to a casual, someone who's not a basketball fan, Wembanyama is going to be a fascination because he is such an alien to a species that's already alien to 99% of the population.
All right, fair enough. I think he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be insane. I hope he stays healthy because if he got hurt, that would just suck for everyone.
Yeah.
He's just so big and so like lanky and so like frail. It seems that kind of like Chet Holmgren. We'll see. Last thing, Shams tweeted 26 minutes ago at the time of this. James Harden has not attended any of the 76ers preseason games and has participated in just one team practice scrimmage over 14 days of training camp. I don't know. I thought he was showing up and like. I thought he like is just going to show up, put his heads down and work and hope for a trade, but I didn't realize that he's like still not showing up. So that's actually worse than I thought it was going to be. We'll see what happens in the regular season. I thought he was showing up. Was he not? I thought I've seen like video of him practicing. Maybe that was just one practice.
I think he's practicing so he doesn't get fined, but I don't know. I don't care. It's so nice not having to worry about James Harden as a Nets fan and someone who doesn't have a best friend who works for the Sixers. It is so nice not to have to worry about the daily doings of James Harden.
Yeah, not my problem anymore. But I don't think anyone in Philly really cares at this moment because they got the Phillies in the NLCS and they got the Eagles who might win the Super Bowl. So
yeah. Real quick, World Series preview
or prediction?
Well, yeah, like who do you think's gonna make it?
Well, it's obviously it's gonna be the Phillies. Like I think they're winning the World Series after Harper hit that home run with the RCS stare down. I tweeted like the Phillies are winning the World Series. Like it's destiny. I mean the Astros are down 0-2. Like this is. I think they can come back. Will they? Who knows? But to see a team with Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi and Aroldis Chapman just like basically leading the team this far it's like
it hurts.
It really hurts given. But I think it'll be Phillies Rangers probably, and Phillies will probably win the World Series in 6 games. Is my prediction. I don't see a scenario where the Phillies don't win the World Series. Mike. They got Team of Destiny written all over them. So that's where things stand in the world of Major League Baseball. Who you got? I assume you're taking the Phillies because you have no creativity.
I'll take the Rangers just for shits and giggles. I'll take the Rangers.
I mean, it's crazy that the Rangers are doing this without.
They haven't lost. They haven't lost yet.
Without Scherzer, no DeGrom. Like
Scherzer's pitching Game 3, isn't he?
He's pitching in Game 3. He's gonna suck. Like I don't know. Like to think that he's gonna go out there and shove 7 or 8 innings and be dominant, I think is completely unrealistic. I think this is actually a mistake by the Rangers because Scherzer hasn't pitched in months and is coming off a pretty significant injury. I just can't see how him being like super effective. So we'll see. But that will do it for this edition of Lucas Podcast. Catch up next week